Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another day on the farm with BioFarm. Today we're here with Norman Dunne outside Maynooth, Norman,
Just outside Maynooth, yeah.
and we're going to look through, I suppose, Norman's change, where he's come from, what he's doing, and where he's going, and if he's any time left. So, Norman, thanks very much for having us.
Okay, you're very welcome.
So, tell us about the farm.
You're all probably sick of hearing my story at this stage, but myself and my dad, we farm together, mostly arable. We've 200 laying hens that's only started this year, a couple of sheep, a couple of pigs for just our home use. We were full-on conventional farmers 5 or 6 years ago now. We made a change to a more regenerative or conservation agriculture principles type farming. So we were all plough, till, sow, full whack nitrogen, full whack spraying programs, and we've gradually just moved a step by step away into the system we're in now.
And can I ask you, before we get into that system, what tempted you to move?
I suppose I felt like we were on a bit of a treadmill of, everything was fairly scripted all the time. I don't think farming is very scripted at all. It's there's too many variables with weather and crop types and crop rotations, and look, we didn't do a whole pile of looking at that at the time, and the soil was very degraded. As we stand here on a heavy soil farm, it's fair disheartening when you're turning that over and it's turning over in a slab. And to try and break that up into a seed bed it's horrible. It's soul destroying actually to try and get anything done with it. So that was the big eye opener, and the lack of worms, like we'd no worms anymore.
So that lack of soil life is...
Soil life, yeah. We'd no soil life. We'd bet into oblivion.
And I suppose that does happen, I suppose, for a number of reasons, but probably we all, from a farming community, for 50 years have looked at the soil as a medium just to put things into and take things out.
It's a bit of dirt, that was it. We've completely turned that around now. That you asked me, earlier on, had we any livestock? Most livestock we have now is under our feet, and we never ever looked at it like that.
And I think that's normal. I think that is the realities of it. And I suppose this transition is changing that.
Big time. We can see the biggest results we have this year. All of our yields have matched our plough yields this year and last year, apart from spring oats. We had a bad year with spring oats this year. We were late sown, and that was our worst crop. But
so before we get into all that, how did you transition away?
Well, I had to convince my father for a start. We have a 10-acre field down in the farm here, and I hired a guy in with a direct drill to direct drill beans into it, and they went into a crappy cover crop that I'd sown over the autumn. It didn't look like it did much, but it did something. Beans went in. It was back in 2018, the real dry year. The beans dried up. They did about a ton an acre, but they still averaged and did well for the year that was in it, and they were direct drilled. Dad was kind of happy with that. Came back in, hired a direct drill in again, winter wheat into that behind it. Fantastic crop. We had better yields than some of our neighbours. They had take-all issues and stuff in the year that was in it in 2019, and it was just a game changer for him to see that, and through the help of Base Ireland. We've been all over the world looking at different farms in different countries and different farms in Ireland. We've visited farms, we've seen different soil types, and we've been on heavier soil than us and have seen it work. So he had to see that too.
It's an important element, though. Seeing is believing.
Absolutely.
Most farmers
you can put sheets of paper in front of people all day long unless you see it in person,
So then, from that point, then you moved on.
From that point, we moved on. We moved a little bit more of the farm in, a little bit more in the farm in, and then I think it was 2020. We were full on the whole farm down, cover crops, no-till, minimum till, and crop rotations.
Okay, and that's a big change because you have a decent-sized farm here.
Yeah, and it's going to change more again. Every year it's changing, Sean. We chopped an awful lot of straw this year. an awful lot of straw that wasn't in the straw chopping scheme even. We chopped an awful lot, and I'm probably going to chop an awful lot more next year because we saw massive gains in that with another dry year gone by, moisture deficit. Anywhere we had chopped straw, we had perfect moisture levels.
So you're decided then you're not going to sell your straw, you're going to chop it down.
A lot of it, yeah.
So fill me in on what the benefit there is. What are you aiming to do with that chopped straw? Surface?
Well, think of it as a blanket.
Yeah. Okay.
A blanket to protect the soil against the baking heat, and it's also a food source. Like, it's a carbon source and a food source. That you're standing now in a field that has a cover crop with chopped straw in it, and you can't see a whole pile of chopped straw in it.
No.
Do you know? But it was vital at the time, in that dry spell back in late August, early September. The place was dry, and there's a window of taking a crop off where you have that small bit of moisture in the ground. You've maybe 2 or 3 days of baking sun, and then that's gone.
Right.
Do you know?
So you're protecting it before.
So when
it
that
gets
blanket of straw goes over that, it's protected.
And
then it's food source. Like, when you scratch back there, if you scratch back now, you're going to see worm castings. You're going to see little holes in the ground where all microfauna, everything's coming up, and they're chewing away at that straw. Like, it's.
And you're drilling through that then to resow the next crop.
Yeah.
No problem.
No problem. No problem in this. We had a bit of trouble in winter wheat. The carbon ratio in winter wheat is much higher than any of the rest of the straws, and there was a lot more of it because we don't use straw shorteners, or it's harder to break it down.
Okay.
I'm still happy enough with what grew in it.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a lesson learned as well.
A lesson learned. But for next year, we have a seeder bought for the header of the combine. So we're going to blow seed out now.
As you're combining?
As we're combining, and the chopped straw will go over it, and it'll seal that moisture level in. It'll be like a microclimate in underneath it. And we did a couple of tests the last 2 years where we just sprinkled a bit of seed, small bit of seed behind the header as it was cutting, and we got better results from that than we did actually drilling the cover. Yeah,
it's not amazing.
Yeah.
So, and it's almost this innovation at that level that makes the thing.
Yeah, but it was true. Like, what was the man's name we went to see in England? I can't think of it. Base brought us to England anyway one time, and we saw this farmer, Richard Tomlinson. Richard Tomlinson, yes. He had that, and I saw it, and it's taken this long. That could have been 6 years ago or 5 years ago, and it's taken this long for me to get that process around.
Because it has to fit into your system as well.
It does, yeah.
You know, and I see this with BioFarm, and while we'll have lots of international expertise over the years at it, sometimes they don't actually dovetail directly into an Irish system, so you have to. That has to be modified all the way along to suit your purpose.
It's all about get out there and get doing.
Yeah.
That's. Don't be waiting for someone to put a magic formula into your hand or like that.
And this transition then away from that high chemical dependency, have you now? Do you see you as a farmer having much more flexibility with your whole system?
Absolutely. I'm much more. I'm parachuted, I'd say. Like, you know, my establishment costs are low. Like, I learned an awful lot between that 2018 and 2019 years. We were very early into it. We came off the back of a very dry year in 2018, and then the 19 autumn was very wet, and we lost over 100 acres of wheat and barley that year because I sowed in the last 2 days in October, and it started raining and never stopped, and the seed just drowned. But I think it was €4 a litre an acre to establish those crops at the time, and I was licking my wounds a bit about it. But I had neighbours here that ploughed and lost wheat, and ploughed it again and lost a second crop of wheat in the same autumn, or coming into January, like that. They had bought expensive seed as well, and the establishment costs again. Like, so all our seed, like 98% of our seed is all home saved seed.
Which is kind of interesting in the sense that it's something that's probably been frowned upon for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, I have a firm belief that the seed that you grow on your own land customizes itself to your soil, your climate, your temperature, your moisture, and year on year it gets better. And
we're going to head over and look at at your approach to how you manage seed in a little while.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep you in the field for a little while, and I just want to ask you then about the cover crops that you are sowing. Do you have specifics, or are you mixing?
Try and keep them as diverse as possible, but it's something that I won't skimp on. And price-wise, This year now I bought pre-mixed seeds and they were a little bit more expensive, but it was a time consumption thing that I didn't have time to be mixing seeds this year. So I bought pre-mixed seeds, and look, I'm very happy with them. I'm very happy with the cover that's growing here and everywhere actually. Everywhere that's grown, like we got in early September with any of the spring cereals, and look, they're getting up, they're covering the ground, they're doing their job, they're creating drainage, and they're soaking up excess nutrients that are there that will recycle back into the next crop in the following year.
And are you have you specific favourites?
Or
Or is
I'll
it
probably be
depend on the
shot for that.
enterprise?
I do like the brassicas because
Okay.
they get up and they get out nice and early, and they get ground coverage. So you can see plenty of radish, stubble rape, mustard. They're the three kind of main brassicas will be there, and there's Phacelia, linseed. There's a bit of buckwheat that I think it's gone. It's nipped there with the cold weather we had there last week. There's linseed. There's vetch. There's a bit of clover. I didn't bother putting in sunflower this year, and it was a mistake because it would have got good traction because I have it in companion crops with my oilseed rape, and it's up a good, and it's doing Trojan work like.
But you mentioned there the buckwheat, but that's a natural process anyway. That you,
It is,
and you do want that.
I do want that,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a phosphorus solubilizer in plant, so look at it. I have it. It's still in. It is as a companion with my oilseed rape as well, and it's going to naturally die out over the winter. So, but it'll do its job before it does.
Yeah, and I suppose that's it. And it's maybe how we look at cover crops is the thing.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
what their role is slightly different than maybe
Yeah.
what their original idea was from.
Look at it. When you're starting out, I just think keep it simple, because you can buy expensive seed and half it won't grow. I see different years, different stuff will grow better than others. Like there's linseed growing there now, and that normally wouldn't grow till early spring in the cover crop here. You know,
But is that the climate as much, or your soil changing as well? Is
the
adapted?
soil is changing as well.
Yeah,
The digestive system of the soil is starting to hum now, and it's
yeah.
starting to accept. It's going to be let down if it doesn't have a
Yeah.
cover crop. You know.
So what was when did you sow these cover crops?
So probably the first week in September. With an early harvest this year, it was 2 weeks early for everything. So
Yeah.
it was great to get them in early. And normally in a cover crop scenario like that, any time after September, I'll have to cultivate to get cover crops up and going.
Okay, and so what is the plan for this field?
I'm not sure yet. That's
Right.
not been smart with you. I come up with my rotations kind of soon after because I can plan somewhat, but I can't tell you what the winter's going to do, or I have enough seed to do everything in spring. So it could be spring oats coming back into this then.
Okay, so this is a fallow period now. Just
Yeah.
You're only in cover crops
Yeah.
with fertility building phase.
Fertility building, and look, it's the conservation agriculture principle as well as keep the ground covered and keep life in the ground. Those roots are keeping biology alive. There's a food source there, and they're pumping carbon down through their leaves. Like every one of those leaves is a solar panel.
Yes, and absolutely. Now, one of the things that from a termination, because we have a problem in Ireland with crop termination, it's not like where you get those extreme hard frosts that kill off.
No, it's true. Yeah.
And there was some of the base lads on Twitter last year.
No, I did it myself.
Oh,
It
out
has
early
worked.
in the morning.
Yeah, out in the middle of the night
Right,
actually.
we're
Yeah.
rolling,
It wasn't early in the
So
morning.
yeah, we're just saying there's
Yeah.
pretty much dedication. But what about the role of livestock in this? I know most tillage farmers probably aren't set up for it. It can running sheep through this
Oh, they can, yeah.
solve a problem.
It won't solve It won't solve that termination problem that you think it is.
Okay,
It'll still come back.
it'll still come back.
It will still come back.
Yeah.
But bar now, you absolutely obliterate it. But if you obliterate it, then you're into soil compaction issues and
so
poaching, and you know,
yeah.
it's not. There's a fine line there of grazing
Yeah.
that I think you should be trampling a bit, eating a bit. You know,
Yeah, and moving on.
moving on.
Yeah.
That's as nature wants it, like, you know.
Also, the fact that you run the cover crops through an animal's gut,
Yeah.
does that change the value, I wonder, in...
It's another cycling, isn't
Yeah.
it? Do you know, it's
But
another.
I wonder, does it speed up the process, or as opposed to allowing them to die down naturally, or let them, or even if you have to terminate them?
I can't answer that
Yeah.
now. I don't know.
Because I heard somebody discussing this recently and said that on certain elements, I think it was Robbie Byrne was saying that in some areas you prefer
I'd imagine
not
it
to
would.
have.
It looks
Yeah.
it'd be more biological
Yes.
activity there
Yeah.
through an animal's gut,
Yeah.
like as well.
So the other thing you did mention, and I think it's starting to become a major discussion point now, maybe not at high level, is the role or the issue of compaction in our soils. And have we ever put a huge amount of consideration in this? It doesn't maybe want to be talked about from a machinery sales perspective.
Absolutely not. No.
But is it starting to become maybe an issue on all farms of all types?
Absolutely. Well, if you ever listen to a galvanised shed and it's just heavy rain falling, you can't hear, you can't talk.
That's a good point, actually.
That's rain. That rain is hitting your soil at the same hit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's compacting that top layer.
So that's another reason to have
Cover crops.
to
But if you
mimic
think that the rain will hit that leaf there, and hit it and gently roll off down and hit the soil, it's a
without even talking about heavy machinery.
Exactly. And then all those roots then are doing your tilling in the ground for you. Like they're keeping it open and they're keeping oxygen there and they're getting more activity, more worms down deeper. Like everything works in unison down there. Like there's no, I can't describe it good enough to how good it is for soiling.
Okay. Well, look, I think what we'll do now is we'll go and look at some of the livestock over the ground, will we?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and we'll have because this is a new venture for you.
It is, yeah.
Okay, Norman, a new venture.
New venture this year, yeah. Something I kind of pinched from Farm for Nature. A couple of the guys were at it there. Look, it made sense to me there that we have the area, we have the cover crops was a big thing for me. We only graze a couple of sheep on it, and we're not doing half as much grazing as we probably should be. So the hens was a great addition or stacking enterprise to the
And they're easy to get into.
Easy enough to get into, yeah. No one tells you how much work is involved with them, but they're easy to get into them. So it was a full-time job, nearly on top of a full-time job.
Yeah.
But used to look at Richard Perkins and see why does he look so tired all the time. And so now I know.
No.
Now I know. Yeah.
But
yeah, look at they're simple enough. They lay their eggs. We collect the eggs. We feed them the sprouted grains.
So how much, like, I suppose traditionally when we look at particularly free range or pastured or organic poultry, that feed is a heavy element of that, but we've always talked about it more in terms of, we'll say imported feed, but you've moved away from that.
I have somewhat, and I feel that when the housing, the bird flu housing comes back in again, I have a feeling I'll probably have to go back with some sort of pellet mixed with my grains.
Okay.
I don't know if they'll get enough protein housed.
Yeah, and I think
would.
we'll talk about bird flu,
Yeah,
the risk of bird flu, because I think it's a very unfair system that outdoor birds like that get penalised to protect caged animals, but that's probably a different discussion.
I know, yeah, different.
So you're running 200 in a mobile house. So this is very much based on the Richard Perkins
It's
model.
a Richard Perkins model, yeah.
I suppose, and how often are you moving them?
In grass, I was getting maybe a week to 2 weeks, depending on how much grass cover was there and what the weather was like and everything. So it was very dry over the summer, and grass growth was fairly minimal as well, but typically a week, 10 days.
Yeah, because you find after about, I see definitely after 12 days in the same area is...
they'll make it, yeah.
And the leaves get dirty and everything else, and they're not...
They're not happy. Like,
they're not happy, no absolutely
so,
not.
They're only in here since this morning now, and already they've done a good job scratching and pulling.
But this is cover crops?
This is cover crops, yeah.
So do you think they're better in cover crops?
Yeah, absolutely. So when they came first this year, they were out on cover crops, similar sort of cover crop to this, but it was much higher, much more leafier. It took them a while to adjust to it, but our egg numbers were very good. I'd say we had damn close to 95% eggs.
Okay.
On that.
On your own ration?
On our own ration, yeah. And when we moved them to the grass field up above, they nearly half stopped laying out. A lot of that was to do with shock from the movement. They woke up one morning in a lovely cover crop, and then the next morning they were a kilometre away in a grass field. So I couldn't blame them for that, but I could never get the egg numbers back up to
Yeah, and they can be finicky. on
finicky.
that.
Yeah, they've never been back, so
Yeah.
they're only just moved back into cover crops now. So hopefully they'll come back up next.
So we need to refilm this now. in
Maybe
about
so. Yeah, in
6,
2 or
8
3 weeks' time.
They and how do you decide then? Are you doing this on a space area per bird, or are you doing this by eye almost?
By eye, it works for me with the pen at this size. It's 150 meters perimeter, I think.
So
So
3 fences.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I literally just fold the fence back here and back up, and fold the fence back up here. It's minimal moving, and then all I need is one fence to catch the other side.
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Because
It just takes the work out of it,
Yeah.
because it can be quite laboursome.
yeah, and lots of people have seen the Richard Perkins house model on the thing. So
Yeah.
it's the clear floor.
That's right,
and-
yeah. Clear for
yeah,
the
so-
rollaway nest boxes and the perch underneath on the top.
So no cleaning.
No, there's minimal cleaning. I have probably smaller squares of mesh in my floor, which is not ideal, but we have pine martens around here,
Okay.
and I believe they can get in through a 40 mil square, which is kind of the
you
next
went to
step
25,
up.
is it?
I went 30.
30 mil.
30
okay.
mil.
Okay.
So every now and again I will have to get in and rattle a bit out, like, but it's not too bad. Like.
Okay. And in terms, you're selling all directly.
Everything's at the gate, yeah.
And can I ask you that just on the hens alone? Is it worth it if you're not selling directly? If you had more numbers, is what you'd have to go to, would it?
I would have to, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the time.
Yeah.
I literally wouldn't have time. I find this is great for my kids. I set this solely up for my young fella. He's 10,
Yeah.
and he's sick to the death of hearing the story, because all the farm walks have been out. He's there, and he has to talk a bit about it. And
Start them young.
he gets a wage. He gets
Yeah.
a wage every week, and he moans a bit about doing it sometimes. But I hold the wage over him every now and again. But it's a great way of integrating him into the work and farming life, that I'm not dogging him all the time, telling him to do this, telling him to do that, and he's not getting any reward out of it. And with this system, he sees the more work he puts in, the better few pound he'll get at the end of the week.
Yeah.
And look, it's teaching him a bit of work ethic and get up and go. And I'm like,
As farmers, sometimes we don't necessarily look at the market as in the same way, or because we've always been price takers.
yeah.
Well, how big of a struggle, or how did you manage to sell? Because eggs from 200 hens is quite a bit.
Well, you see, I'm not always getting 200 eggs a day. This is
Yes.
I did these sums in my head before I started too, and I was thinking 200 hens a day, and,
Yeah.
and I totted it all up,
Is it?
365 days a year, and it's like that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's
Did you struggle though with the marketing element of it?
no, I didn't. I had great backing from Farm for Nature. I came off the back of a good year
Okay,
after
yes.
winning the Farm for Nature award.
So that was almost a market-ready platform for you
For
to
me,
sell
like,
yourself
yeah.
on. Okay.
And I'm guilty of kind of using that in a way,
Yeah.
you know.
No, but I think is that not what Farming for Nature is about too? So,
Yeah, it is, yeah. But yeah.
So what will go in after the hens then? It'll just be back. It's just as part of their fertility building phase.
Just part of their fertility building days, yeah. Just keep moving them. Look, hopefully they won't be on it too long, or they will actually tear us under, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is that balancing act, isn't it?
It is a fine line, like.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I think so. And I think you can move them quicker,
You can.
but there's an extra workload involved.
There is, yeah. And look, I think I will be moving them quicker now. As the workload eases for me, look, I suppose we've only really a month anyway before we're
Yeah.
going to have to house them anyway, so.
And one thing I was wondering about, you know the way in the fence is electrified for pests, but the bottom row isn't. But in cover crops, it has to be earthen through them.
It is,
And
like,
you-
it's not great. I'd say you could grab that fence now and you won't get it.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. Don't worry. But it still functions.
It still functions. Look, my only hope is that a fox with his bare pads, he'd be well earthed to the ground. He might get a nice belt off it. But I had trouble, I suppose, at the start with them with a fox. But that was down to more kind of mismanagement of my own.
I know that pain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
look, I haven't had any trouble since. That's
Yeah. No, and I think it's almost in your own head. You have to get around that idea. You can't go around and strim ahead of it all the time. And I thought about that. And
I get that truck there and I drive a line.
Yeah.
I eyeball a line of what I think should be it, and I flatten that line and I put the fence on that line, and there's
Yeah.
nothing too scientific about it. Like,
that's simple.
it's all about keeping it quick. Like,
Okay, Right, that's the poultry done. A good enterprise in this farm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy enough with it
Yeah,
so far
yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay, we're going to go look at some of the other crops. Is it?
Crops, yeah, I'll bring you
seed
to
rested.
oilseed rape, companion, and I'll bring you to a wheat field then below that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have a look at your soil now, because
Yeah.
this is all about soil.
If I didn't get a stone.
Yeah. But the spade does go in evenly and easily now, in fairness.
So there's no compaction issues there.
Yeah.
It's fairly well aggregated, and there's little hairline roots going.
Yeah, you can.
You can see them there.
Yeah.
So if you look at that kind of clay soil there, when we ploughed and turned that over and was power harrowed, you'd end up with balls of soil like that all over the place, and not for love nor money could you break them with a sledgehammer.
And these little guys couldn't get through them either.
No. So now we have plenty of them. But now, if you look at that little ball of soil,
Just breaks off.
yeah, but there's roots. See the fine, small bits of hairline roots that are going through it. They're doing the work of the tilling.
Yeah. You can see that the just the bits are broken down.
Broken down, yeah. Well, the worms are taking that trash. The deep burrowing worm is taking that trash that's there, taking it down, regurgitating it, and coming back up as a casting. As well as the horizontal worms are there too. And there's plenty of percolation.
Yeah,
no
you
wetness
said
there.
and you said you had 30 mils of rain.
30 mils of rain this week.
Yeah, you
just
wouldn't
this
notice
week,
it yet.
Yeah, because we had a lot of rain in the last month. You know, whereas we didn't. I know it had been a dry period, you know. But this is the transformation that's happening as a result.
And in a relatively short time.
In a relatively short time, yeah. And it's getting better.
And is this predominantly down to cover crops?
I'd put it singly down to cover crops, yeah.
Okay, so and then the straw on top is for feeding those cover crops, or feeding
the life underneath,
it, yeah.
And just the roots are keeping the biology alive down below. They're doing the percolation. They're covering the soil. They're soaking up excess nutrients. They're a win-win in environmental, biological, every way, like, you know.
Great. Okay, doke. You better explain what's going on here, because
Right.
I'm not sure.
We're in a field of oilseed rape, winter oilseed rape, with companions of buckwheat, clover, sunflower, phacelia. I think that's it.
Okay, well there's the buckwheat anyway.
Yeah, buckwheat's there. Buckwheat's probably on its last legs there. I mean, with the cold, the first drop in temperature.
So has it got smaller, or did it grow much bigger than this?
No, I'd say it won't go any bigger than that now.
Okay.
It's probably already been hit. You can see there it's gone kind of light
Yes,
colour.
and yeah.
It's already been burnt there with the cold, so it's in trouble already. So, but that's okay. It's done its job.
So this is the rape.
That's the rape there, yeah. It's at a nice level. It's not too far on.
So yeah, because I wouldn't
don't
want
want it
this-
too far
you,
on.
You don't want anything.
No, I don't want anything roaring going into winter. Like it's a recipe for disease and stuff. And it was sown quite heavy, so you can see an awful lot of plants around. But it was direct drilled, so we didn't move any ground. We sowed it twice. We sowed the companions first, and then we sowed the oilseed rape after. And coming into the spring, I'm going to put I'm going to stitch in peas into it.
Okay.
So we'll have most of the companions will die out in the winter, leaving just the oilseed rape, and we'll go with the peas then in the spring. It'll fix a bit of nitrogen, and we'll be able to separate the two crops then at harvest time.
Because you have,
We have
which
the rotary
we'll
cleaner.
show later on. Okay, so that whole thing is coming together nicely. You're growing two crops at the same time.
Yeah. Well, we've grown commodity crops before, but we just haven't been able to find a market for them.
Okay.
Worthy market that every merchant wants to take the two crops and give you the price for one.
Okay.
And look, that can
And
work.
is separation the key, or is it the market?
The market is the problem.
Yeah.
That it's fantastic animal feed for anyone that has animals, but
we should be probably shooting.
we should be shooting harder than that.
Yeah. And I think maybe vegans are a huge opportunity. We have to look at them in the proper way.
But I'll take a bit of this here for you.
Yeah. But you can even see how easy it's gone in.
So,
And that,
the spade is going into it, like so. Again, you can see the aggravation on it. Like there's no compaction, and every bit of the soil has some fibrous roots in it.
Yeah. Even here you can see them.
And worms.
Look at this.
Yeah.
So it's full of worms.
We had a leave insert ag student ag science student here last year, and her I don't know what her project was, but she had to come out. She had to come out and dig a spade or a foot by a foot by a foot deep of soil and count what was in it, and go to another farm close by and measure what was in it. And she counted 16 worms in our spadeful here. She had beetles, she had centipedes, she had mites, she had all sorts of different life there. And she went to the neighbouring place and she counted 3 earthworms and a small few other bits and pieces. But she said that it was a phenomenal. She took it out and saved everything. Like we did that years ago too. I remember when we started at the Dunne project, we did worm counts and stuff, and they were non-existent. Like it was horrible. It was soul destroying actually, going through the soil and not finding any. We three worms maybe in it as well.
And can I ask, when we're talking about that, this is probably not something that we probably learned in normal agriculture.
Oh, no.
So is the knowledge to know what to look for and what to do, is that coming more through the likes of the Dunne and base?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a farmer sharing base level, like, you know, it's not. And the beauty of it is, like, these farmers are willing to share their failures as well as
isn't it?
And that's the most important
thing.
Most important.
Absolutely. What goes wrong?
There's a lot of stuff at an academic level that is brushed under the rug, or if it's not good enough, won't show that. They're the important things that have to be shown.
Yeah, there is a big debate on at the moment as well on, you know, particularly from an EU funding perspective, all this research.
Yeah.
But it always strikes me that maybe the farmers missed out a bit in the middle, that it's great for academia and for PhDs, but how much of that stuff is actually getting down to farm level where it makes a difference to a farmer?
They're not giving it enough time anyway, Sean. It's a point, like, you can't fix things in a growing season or a year. And I've been looking at things in a forward way of maybe 10, 20 years. And we had Dwayne Beck out there a couple of weeks ago on a farm, and he was speaking in times of 500 years of long stuff. Like, and like, I was like, Jesus, what am I doing with fucking 10 years? Like,
But at the same time, if you look at what your farm has changed in that period of time.
Well, I can, like, and my dad can see it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. You know, I can be biased and be wanting to see it, but he can see it. And when he sees it,
and he may not have come to this with an easy.
No. You can't bring a man that's done something all his life to.
And tell him it's wrong.
Well, I didn't go that far. But you can see at the level of the edges of the field there, where the furrows are, where the old plough furrow is, there used to be a step off that when you came off that. You know, the soil had slumped so much, and now it's coming back up.
Because it's full of area.
It's aerating up. You know, you can see that. You can see it in the spadeful that there's.
And in this field, for example, what's the nutrition that you have done on this? Because while you're not organic, you've reduced your inputs. How much are you still reliant on artificial nutrition for this?
In the autumn, we've cut complete P and K. Chemical P and K is gone now, and even though we're still on low indexes, we're on 1s and 2s here.
Okay, and how are you managing to feed the crop?
Compost.
Oh, you are?
Compost.
Compost.
Yeah. So we're making compost, and we have had a deal there with our neighbour where he takes maybe 70% of our straw, and he has a compost turner. He gives it back to us as compost.
Oh, great.
So that has been the deal going forward, but it's not getting an awful lot. It's 3.5 ton an acre of compost.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking at some of people like David Johnson and people like that in the States, and they're talking about down as low as £1 per acre.
Yeah,
so
well, that's the thing.
This is where what we have to go.
We have to get to. Yeah.
Look,
truth be told, like, the soil is kind of hungry.
Yeah.
It needs. I probably should be putting 10 ton an acre, but I just don't have it.
Yeah. But I think with compost we're going to go to quality, not quantity. I think
absolutely, and that is, we have good quality compost. That's where we're shining through in that end. But don't underestimate the power of the worms. Like, they're turning all that trash back into, like,
they're
how many did you count there and what we dug, like, you know, and we weren't even looking for them, you know. And when they regurgitate that back out as a casting, like, that's one of the most balanced fertility fertilizers you can put on land. Like.
And tell me this, as a farmer, you hear this a lot from guys who look at, we'll say, biological processes, that they feel that maybe the field is a bit untidy looking. They don't have that clean.
Well, you'll see that here now when you walk in here. I don't know if you'll see it, but any other farmer will come in and go, "Jesus, your man's growing weeds."
Yeah.
You know?
And was that a trouble? You mentioned your father being in partnership with you.
Yeah.
Was that a struggle for him at the start?
It was at the start until he could see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Even myself, it's a mindset thing.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's changed the way you see things.
Norman, we're in your wheat?
Yeah.
Winter wheat?
Winter wheat sown 10 or 15 days ago, I suppose.
Okay.
Into bean stubble.
Is that what this is?
Yeah. Bean stubble, yeah. I've compost spread on it as well, so it feels a bit sticky under feet. You can see it sticking to the boot, but in normal circumstances, you walk across this field without the compost, you'll have clean boots, no soil sticking to your feet.
There's no soil disturbance in this?
No soil disturbance. If this was ploughed and one passed, you wouldn't have got much further than the gate there without that much stuff
on your feet. And how long is this in your regenerative model?
It's one of the later turnovers into the system. Is one of the last fields, but you can see it in the soil. It's not as. It's even the spade isn't even going down as well, but there's still plenty of worms starting to come into it.
But it's also a lighter colour. There's
a lighter
worms,
colour, and you can see the platiness that's in it.
Yeah, it's kind of sheety almost, isn't it? But it's crumbling.
It is. Like there's 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, 6, 7,
6,
8.
Yeah.
No, there's lots of worms.
In one spade without looking too hard. That seed there is now, that's dressed with our biological dressing.
Okay, which we're going to look at your process and we'll go back up.
But see if I can get you that. Look at the roots on that. From a 10 to 15 day old seedling.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's a good healthy green shoot that's growing up from it. That's foraging itself.
Like the little dreadlocks.
Yeah, they're somewhat like yeah. I'd say if it was drier now, you'd see better dreadlock on it.
But it's also the ability to go through the ground.
Well, it's foraging itself. It's not being fed too much. So, as I said to you, we're not applying any chemical P and K. The last 2 years in the autumn now, we haven't applied any chemical P and K.
So that brings me round to the horrible question: is finances in terms of, we'll say, how was your yields compared to, we'll say, when you were 5 years ago to now?
Well, we're back to our plough yields now.
Yeah.
But our rotations are better. I suppose it's putting more margin back in our pocket that our establishment costs are cheaper. We're not burning diesel. Every crop on a fungicide programme only got 1 fungicide, except for wheat, got 2. And it was only because the year was good. The prices were good. We were a bit hungrier this year. Because the price was good, we said we'd make hay while the sun shined. And we didn't cut back any more nitrogen. The plan was cutting back every year. This year we didn't cut back any more, so we're at 120 units for winter wheat and winter barley, and back to 90 units then for spring.
And comparatively, what would you have been before?
170, 160.
No, but in 5, 6 years ago.
Nitrogen use.
Yeah.
Well, we would have been nearly the full of the stick, you know. We've been cutting back gradually every year, and as the process of the cover crops and all the compost and the rotations, the nutrient cycling, it's getting better and better. As you could see by the darkness of the soil.
Yes.
Things are starting to work better, and as they work better, you'll need less.
So, where you're not necessarily making more money on output,
we're
but
not
you're
turning
saving
over.
on input.
We're not turning over as much money, but there's more margin put back into our pocket.
So you're ultimately
diesel bill
better off.
alone, is astronomically cut,
And we're going to go up and look at the equipment to a point. But when we are in the field, one of the things we hear about, I suppose, regenerative and to a point organic as well is, and I know somebody's referenced it before, more time.
Yeah.
How are you finding that?
Well, one of the main reasons of getting into this whole style of farming and system was that I did have more time, and I did have an awful lot more time for family time and kids. And my wife pointed out to me this year that we were at the zoo. I think that the last week the kids went back before school, and she said, "This is the second time you've been away with us all summer. before they go back. And I was like, all right, I kind of stuck in my head, and I was like, shite, I'm after doing all this, and I'm after creating all this extra time, not ploughing, not tilling, and I'm after filling it up with composting, seed cleaning, seed dressing, compost spreading,
Hens.
Yeah, how could I even forget the hens? But all this stuff has all that time that I created. I like to be busy anyway, but I don't think I should be as busy. So I just restructure things better.
Because because there's so much options, isn't there, in that whole biological thing now?
There is,
that you could almost stay around the yard just doing that extra work.
Well, that's the thing is now, and Dad actually, for the first time this year, he's sowed with the new direct drill, and he's fully trained in that now. So he actually sowed all the autumn crops and all the cover crops this year while I was doing all that work in the yard that I would have normally been jumping backward and forward.
But is there a danger that you could get too consumed by that?
Yeah, I think there is. I just think time management needs to be better.
But also, it is trial and error to a point you should set them up in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
but once I have I think I have things humming now, and that's I can scale back and put more time planning into what I do.
Because it's almost like cautionary table, a cautionary word, not to. You can get caught up because there's 100 different things you can do.
It's very simple. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Just always keep it simple. And I've gone maybe 2 or 3 steps further than simple, and it's created those complications of time.
Back to simple.
Yeah, I'm back to. Simple. I'm going to bring it back to simple, and keep it simple.
Great. Will we go and look at the? I'm so excited. Okay, Norman. What is this space age piece of equipment we have here?
So you're looking at a seed cleaner here. Bringing, it's run on a horizontal fan, so the seed drops in from the top, the horizontal fan blows this way, and the heaviest of the seed fall first. The lighter seed, the weed seed, chaff and stuff gets blown out the end. So we have the first 3 compartments here gathering our home safe seed into this.
And that's the heavier seed, the bigger seed.
The plump, vibrant seed, all similar size. That's all collected here. And the waste seed, which isn't really waste seed at all, still vibrant or viable seed in it, going out the other side, which I'll sprout for the hens, or it'll go back into the feed heap.
Okay.
But the blue barrel then here there's a pipe connected to it, and it runs down here into this auger here and dribbles in as the seed is falling down. The auger takes it here, mixes up the seed dressing, the biological seed dressing, up the auger, and we have a bag down the very end then that. Okay,
and is that just a liquid? It
just liquid dribbling in and top of the hopper there, and it
evenly.
The auger gives it a lovely even coat and all.
Okay. Yeah. And then now it's into your bag for storage.
Into the bag for storage, and takes 5 or 6 hours for it to kind of be ready to sow. Or generally we do all the seed dressing the day before, and we sow the next day.
Okay, and you have the waste, and you also have the chaff.
Chaff is out there at the back, yeah.
Can you feed that then as well?
I probably could, yeah. I haven't done yet now, so.
There's no waste in nature, isn't that what it's saying?
Not here anyway, no. We'll go into compost, or we'll go into something like so.
And that's what we're going to have a quick look at now.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the compost,
brilliant.
Yeah.
So this is going to, before we move on, this is going to probably save you quite a bit of money as well.
Yeah, well, we've always home saved seed anyway, but the original function of this machine was to separate peas and oats and peas and barley, which it does, but it just takes too long, and I don't have time to be running it through it continuously, or I'd have to automate it some way with augers or something. But it's saved us thousands every year on contract grain cleaning, which we were getting done anyway.
Yes.
And now we're just dressing our own seed as well. But
brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Compost, the feed from the farm. So this is your compost. Tell us, it's pretty, how would I say, well mixed up.
Yeah. It's only here since July.
Okay.
So it's gotten 4 turns.
With a compost turner, is it?
Compost turner, yeah. It's broken down very well.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be really easy to spread this.
It will be very easy to spread it. It still has a bit to go, and I'm going to run out of time now anyway, so it's going to have to go out.
Okay. When will you be spreading?
On the next 10 days.
Okay.
It has to be out by 1st November.
So what's in this?
There's horse manure, wood chip, horse manure, sawdust. There's cattle manure and cattle manure wood chips. It's very high carbon base, which is it's not very well balanced on carbon to nitrogen ratio, but it's still, the turner helps.
Yes, yeah.
You know, And the pile would have been probably an awful lot higher starting out too.
Yeah. So it is continue breaking down.
That is, yeah. And I'm going to put that out on cover crops and stuff where they'll continue to break down.
So you need that out before
I need the
stop
deadline.
growing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I have to get it out anyway. I can't store it over the winter.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, because it's not. You have the government rules to apply as well.
Exactly.
And what about when the last turn in here now? Because it doesn't seem to be very hot anymore. It seems to have.
No, it's run its course now. It has run its course. But it's time is the thing for this high carbon stuff. It needs time, and worms will start to come into it around the edge. You'll see worms in it. That's only been turned there the other day, so.
Okay.
But you will see worms. They'll come into the top.
And would that be your indicator then that it's ready? Pretty ready to go?
It's good to go. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's quick look at this cleaning machine, or the
separator.
Yeah. Doesn't look like a lot, Norman, and dirty old IBC, but it's providing a core role in the farm, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wormery. Like it was a battered up, like you said, it is a battered up old IBC. The pallet had gone off it, and there was no use for it anymore. Simply, I got the idea of a couple of lads there, Dave Beecher, he was showing it around, and a couple of other lads did them. You cut the top off the IBC, you turn it upside down, you place it down inside in the IBC on blocks and drill holes in it. You bed it up with cardboard, compost, shredded newspaper, shredded paper, and more cardboard, and then feed or waste stuff from your household.
So just kitchen waste?
Kitchen waste, yeah.
So the compost bin?
Compost bin, yeah.
So
eggshells as well. Eggshells are a calcium source. No shortage of them around here.
No.
There you have, like.
And it's got that lovely
earthy
floor.
smell, yeah. It's probably.
It's very dry.
Yeah. No, I think that's just right. If it gets too dry, it gets.
No, but from a compost perspective, what I mean is lovely and dry.
Yeah, it's nice and dry, but it still will smear across your finger.
Yeah, but
see that humidified source of compost.
Is that because there's a space at the bottom for the liquid to drain off? Do you know the way compost bins can get very wet?
Well, no, I'll have to add water to that for my seed dressing.
Oh, will you?
Yeah, so you'll see the drain here. There's a little bit. It'll leach out every so often. There's only a small bit left in the bucket. So I've used everything there already for my seed dressings, for the autumn seed dressings.
So this is the most biologically active place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is what you're adding to your seeds, which we've just seen from
that, along with the lactic acid bacteria and the humic and
from the
sprouted grains.
The sprouted grain for the grain. Sorry, for the hens. Okay, brilliant. So you mix them, is it?
I mix them all together then, yeah.
In BioFarm later you can...
I can go through that,
bring it with you. Great. And it's so simple.
Simple, yeah. It's simple, it's very agricultural and simple. It doesn't look the prettiest, but it's doing a very valuable job here on the farm.
And costs very little. But also...
That's where it all comes down to, cost.
Yeah.
Make sure.
And it's just another way of utilising the waste from
waste, there's no waste here.
No. Brilliant.
No waste.
Let's go and look at your cleaning machine.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Late Show, we're moving from one job to the other. What am I looking at?
Just wondering.
A rotary cleaner.
A rotary cleaner?
Yeah.
So what, it spins?
It spins around the outlet up here. You put the grain, like this is, I think they call it a pre-cleaner in Europe and England, so it goes before a dryer. But there's 2 sets of screens in it, so we can change the screens in it that we can separate the combi crops. So
I see.
They'll drop in here. The thing will keep turning, and it'll let bigger grains down through mesh and separate the peas and barley, say.
Okay.
And bring them out in 2 different outlets.
So this is what we talked about earlier on with the crops outside in the field.
Yeah.
And there's a potentially better value with 2 separate crops.
2 separate crops and 2 different sets of root architecture in the soil. Like it's winner. But just the market wasn't allowing us to sell it as one. So.
Yes. So this is a solution.
This is the solution. This is my solution. For like.
And can I ask you, like, does it pumps in or there's an
gravity fed in there, and it's at a slight angle. You can see it's at a slight angle, so it's going to turn and build up. And look, I still have to get screens for it and stuff. So it's going to be a job over this winter that I'm going to finalise it, because I have some peas and oats still here.
Okay.
And that's going to be my trial run on it. But I know they work.
Okay.
They
And this
definitely
is just part of that whole farm progression, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's, you know,
It's putting more power and more
Yeah.
money back into our pockets. So that's
and this was a second-hand piece of
second-hand
equipment.
piece of machinery bought in Denmark. Got it shipped over.
Great.
Looks an awful lot bigger than it did in the picture.
And you can get the screens made here?
I think so, yeah. I think
Okay.
there's a crowd in Dublin doing them.
Okay, very good. Great stuff. Thanks again, Norman. No bother. Cheers.
You had a job, Sean. All really good stuff though, Norman. Brilliant to see so much of your farm, and thanks for showing us so much of your farm as well. We've loads of questions in, so I'll get straight to them. But one thing I picked up on it there, what a year to be reducing your diesel costs and things maybe that people don't think of. Like that was a big saving this year and made a big difference to your end margin, I'd say.
Yeah, it came to light this year, definitely,
Yeah.
because everything did skyrocket. I suppose we were ahead of the curve in that sense that
Yeah,
unknowns to ourselves we were ahead of the curve. Like we were trying to save money back when diesel was cheap and fertilizer was cheap, so it's really come to fruition in the last year and a half. So
yeah. Okay. If you have questions from the floor, Niamh has the mic there, so stick your hand up. First question in from online from Anonymous. What establishment methods does Norman use for cover crops and also cash crops? Is it a form of min-till, no-till or mixed? So you're on a direct drill, Norman, for both. Are you? What drill is it?
Yeah, John Deere 750A.
Okay.
We will direct drill most crops except for spring barley. Spring barley is a lazy, good for nothing crop that needs a bit of gentle movement of the soil and a nicer seed bed than say kind of cold or wet spring soil that would normally be going into. That's the only one that we'll move soil for, so everything else we'll get a direct drill into, but it comes with a system of it following on the back of a cover crop, or you know, it has the kindness and it has the root structure has done, or the cover crop root structure has done what it's going to do to the soil before the next crop goes into it, and it starts to cycle back in again.
Yeah. Okay.
The cover crops, they're mostly all direct drilled as well.
Yeah.
If it gets any later than September, second week of September, we'll move a bit of ground for cover crops as well to get them up, because the soil temperature has been lost, and it just will not get up out of the ground fast enough, so it just takes a bit of mineralisation to get them up out of the ground.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Norman, someone's commenting on your pup there, the star of the BioFarm. Sean, you're being outshined there. There's two dogs near the end, I think. What protein percentage roughly, Norman, is your homemade layer feed, someone's asking?
I can't actually honestly answer that, because it's peas. It's a pea mix, so we would have grown a pea combi crop with oats and peas, and it would have started out maybe 20-30% of the oats and pea mix being sown, so whatever that came to, it looks like a good proportion of peas that's in the mix, and it's mixed together with wheat and barley and some beans as well. I'm not gone mad on giving them the beans because they don't seem to like them that much. I'd have to figure a way of grinding them or just getting them smaller, just too big for them, I think.
Yeah, okay.
So they're the two kind of protein sources then that we'll be using for the hen.
Yeah, but you're not totally sure on,
I couldn't give you the exact
Yeah, that's
figure.
fair enough.
Well, is that not the thing about what you're doing though? Because you're eliminating most of your costs out of the system, it doesn't have to be maybe that exact. I think that
No, but I don't think you should be
Yeah.
focusing on making
Yeah.
things too exact anyway, because it just complicates things
Yeah.
in all aspects of what we're doing.
And almost the observation of your poultry at the other side would kind of give you a good idea if they're how much eggs they're laying.
They'll tell you,
but B, how they look. You know?
And if it's too high, you're not going to take it away from it, and if it's too low, you're not going to buy anything in.
Exactly.
Exactly. How long does the composting process last for? You referred to this in the video, but
So that pile that we looked at was from July. By rights I should have been out in February with that, but again it comes back to the time that I'm talking about. The earlier you can get it out, the better, and the more aeration you can give it, the better. Like, you know.
Okay.
There's a couple of different, like I'm sure you saw through BioFarm there. Everyone has a different take on compost, and look, anaerobic composting is probably the way to go for us because it's less laboursome and you don't decarbonise as much from it. So, but it's more laboursome at the start.
Okay. Put up your hands if you've a question in the audience. Someone else online, Norman, have you considered organic? Will you go organic?
Definitely, yeah.
Will you
I
go?
have. I'm just. I don't think I said that in the video. Like in 2018, the first BioFarm conference, I was asked to bring my worst and my best soil here, and I think my soil was the worst soil on display for the couple of days that it was on, and I can probably say that I'll get it to the best soil at some stage, you know. Yeah. So I'm on a journey at the minute to build soil now, and I'm just not ready. The soil isn't ready for organics. It's getting there, and it has improved drastically in that couple of years, but I need to get it to a point where it's comfortable and I can move swiftly over or just gently over, and there won't be any problems, like, you know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Use the tools that are available to you before you make the jump. What's the name of the cleaning machine, and what cost was it, or how much does it cost to run?
I think it was 3,500. The blue one.
Yeah, at the end there.
Oh, the very end, the rotary one.
The
rotary one was about 6,000, I think.
Yeah, roughly anyway.
Roughly, yeah. And God, I can't think of the name of it. And I can't think of the name of the other one either. I can get them for you, and I'll.
If someone specific wants it, so you went. This person's wondering if you went straight from the 750A, but you didn't, did you? You had a direct drill in on your beans. So we'll read out the question. You went straight from the 750 drill from plough base. Did you find any significant challenges moving to no-till suddenly? And do you think it's necessary going through min-till initially to ease into the system? So when you tried the 10 acres, you had a direct drill in. Did you do a bit of min-till then before you went to plough, or did you just use rotation or break crops or whatever?
Rotations and cover crops, but I kind of went in 2 feet in first, and I learned a good bit from that. We went straight in with a direct drilled spring barley crop after a cover crop. It didn't perform very well. We still had a crop, and it was minimal inputs, and it didn't cost that much, and it was just a little bit disappointing to be in at first.
Okay. Would you recommend someone to gradually move over?
Gradually move over. Look, that's how we started. We moved. I did maybe 10% of our farm, and I have 25 acres of my own, which is beside the farm, and I kind of brought that in with the 10% of Dad's, and we start with a break crop. Start with beans or oats or something, you know, and work in there, because it's a stepping stone into it, and I think you can, no matter what drill you have or what establishment manage you have, after beans you could spit the seeds out of your mouth and they'll grow like on the ground, you know. And
then to do it over the rotation, I suppose,
that's one part of the rotation, and that creates a bit of soil structure, and you know, it's the stepping stone at start, and then wheat, and then move on, like move your rotation on from there, like.
Yeah. Sean, have you any questions, or
did I see someone with a hand up there a second ago? No. Okay. I know we joked a little bit about the hens and the thing. Do you see in your system livestock coming in at a bigger level, if you know what I mean?
Bigger level. I have jumped in and out of the livestock level store lambs a couple of times. Look, the last couple of years I thought they'd been too dear to buy, and I know all you sheep guys could nearly club together and pay me not to get into sheep, because as soon as I get into them, they're going to fall. But look, I probably will dip my toe back in again, maybe even this year again. I'm that way thinking again, like so.
Very good. Niamh has someone with a question there.
Is it on? Hello. Yeah. Just regarding Norman's presentation, would you have a view, and what would be the reason that other farmers in similar circumstances to yourself would not go the road that you are going? Do you know, would it be financial? The reason that there are a lot more farmers are not going the road that you have gone in recent times. Would you have a view on that? Are there impediments or some things in the way, or will it be a bigger mindset, or have you a view on it?
It's a big step you've
It's a
taken,
fear.
Norman. Like,
It's a fear of
Yeah.
change. Like if you're comfortable doing something very well all the time, and I'll come in and tell you you can actually do it this way. It's very hard to get that through in your, like, in all aspects. The level of fear or change is it's very hard to get someone to come back around to that thinking. And look, the only way to do it is get out and try a bit and do it.
Yeah.
And once you get comfortable with the little bit that you're doing, like that's all we ever did. We got comfortable with the little bit, and here we go. Like,
But then you also had a bit of support there as well between
I had
base
massive
and the
support.
Dunne work.
the Dunne Ireland project.
Yeah.
Like I had access to all these professional guys and answered all the questions that I could throw at them. The Base Ireland, like they, again, the platform sharing of mistakes, success, the WhatsApp group, you can put a question into the WhatsApp group, and either of those Dunne or Base WhatsApp groups, and you could get 7. No, you might not. You'll get 7 different opinions, and some of them you mightn't like. But that's the diversity of it, and that's the beauty of the whole.
Yeah, and you know, I think that we often have to acknowledge as well that the EIPs have been a phenomenal opportunity, and we sometimes talk about farmer-to-farmer research. They're a good example of doing things well.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And look, it's a big step you've taken, Norman, and you know, it's not easy to do that. You know, to go from conventional to that. And look, thanks very much for giving us.
I'd say it's made farming far more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Do you know, and we're more in control of what we do, and we're more in control of our costs. We're stepped out of a linear system. It's far more variable.
Yeah.
You can have ups, you can have downs, but we've taken complete control of our whole farm. We've relearned how to farm again. That's the best way of putting it, you know.
Thanks a million, Norman. Round of applause for Norman, I think, and Michael's in the audience as well. So thanks, Norman, and we're going to take a 5-minute break now, and we're back then with David Wallace and Nigel Gillis from the Dunne Group. They'll join us on stage.